Hello, and welcome to this presentation on misbehavior. As you might expect, we're going to explore some information relating to the question of what is misbehavior. In this presentation, you'll find information from several different authors who have written books on the subject of behavior. Although they don't all use the same definition, their ideas as to what constitutes misbehavior are very similar. Within this presentation, you'll find several different definitions of the word misbehavior, from which you'll be able to draw your own definition. And finally, we'll look at different types of misbehavior as defined by the book, Taking Proactive Steps to Prevent the Occurrence of Misbehavior in the Classroom. So we asked the question, what does the word misbehavior mean? What is the definition? Does everyone share the same definition or the same view about what's considered to be misbehavior? Think about your own experience. As a teacher, as a paraprofessional, as a parent, as a grandparent, do you tolerate the same levels of behavior as others? Do you have the same definition of misbehavior as others? Chances are they're very similar. However, they're not likely to be the same. Dictionary.com defines misbehavior as improper, inappropriate, or bad behavior. As you're about to see, authors who have written books about behavior often provide their own definitions of the word misbehavior, and again you'll see many similarities and some differences. In the next few slides, you'll find definitions of the word misbehavior from several different authors. For the sake of pacing this presentation, I will read them aloud. Thomas Gordon, renowned psychologist and author of TET, Teacher Effectiveness Training, and Discipline That Works, defines behavior as an adult concept in which a specific action of the child is seen as producing an undesirable consequence for the adult. To paraphrase Gordon, we might say that misbehavior is anything students do that teachers don't like. Linda Elbert, author of A Teacher's Guide to Cooperative Discipline, defines misbehavior as inappropriate acts associated with students' pursuit of mistaken goals, which are attention-seeking, power-seeking, revenge-seeking, or withdrawal. Such behavior appears when students fail to achieve their prime goal of acceptance in the classroom. Albert bases her definition on work done earlier by psychiatrist and child development expert Rudolf Dreikurs. Author Barbara Coloroso advocates an approach based on inner discipline. She categorizes misbehavior as mistakes, being accidental or uninformed, mischief as being intentional but benign, and mayhem as being intentional and more serious. Spencer Kagan, psychologist and author of Win-Win Discipline, describes misbehavior as disruptions that can be categorized into 4 types: aggression, breaking rules, confrontations, and disengagement. These disruptions, he says, almost always spring from one of the 7 student positions. These include attention-seeking, avoiding failure, angry, control-seeking, energetic, bored, or uninformed. Now let's look at William Glasser, psychiatrist and prolific writer and consultant in teaching, curriculum, and discipline. He defines misbehavior as unacceptable acts students perform in an attempt to meet one or more of 5 prime needs. Those needs are safety, love and belonging, fun, freedom, and power. He believes misbehavior is minimized to the extent students are able to satisfy those needs in the classroom. And finally, we'll take a look at C.M. Charles, the author who describes misbehavior as any action that, through intent or thoughtlessness, interferes with teaching or learning, threatens or intimidates others, or oversteps society's standards of moral, ethical, or legal behavior. Think about the definitions we just reviewed from the different authors. Now think about, how would you define misbehavior? Which author would your definition most align with? Or would it be a combination of all? In the next few slides, we're going to look at some types of misbehavior that can occur in a classroom. These examples are taken from the book, Taking Proactive Steps to Prevent the Occurrence of Misbehavior in the Classroom. This information comes from Chapter 2. So looking at the types of misbehavior that they list, they have inattention, apathy, needless talk, moving about the room. The author goes on to give examples of what each type of misbehavior might look like. For inattention, it could be daydreaming, doodling, looking out the window, thinking about things irrelevant to the lesson. Apathy is a general disinclination to participate, as demonstrated by sulking, not caring, being afraid of failure, not wanting to try or do well. This is that student who's just kind of there for the day. Needless talk. Some examples: chattering during instructional time about matters unrelated to the lesson. Basically being off task. Moving about the room, getting up, moving around without permission, congregating parts of the room. This is the student who gets up several times to look out the window, or that's student who gets up to sharpen his pencil 1,000 times during class. Other types and examples of misbehavior include annoying others, and that's when the student's paying attention to other students and picking at them, calling them names, teasing them. Disruption is the student who shouts out, talks and laughs inappropriately during class, has confrontations with others. Examples of lying: when an individual doesn't take responsibility for their own actions, or they try to get others in trouble. Examples of stealing: we know what that is, students taking things that don't belong to them. And cheating. And finally, on this page, we have examples of the more intense misbehaviors, such as aggression and fighting, malicious mischief, and defiance of authority. In future lessons of this learning path, you'll be looking at the stages of escalation, and you'll want to try to figure out where each of these behaviors might fall on the escalation continuum that will be presented to you. This concludes our presentation on misbehavior. And again, thank you for joining us.